Now, we all know that the so-called progressive left can be prone to hypocrisy, double standards, foul language, personal abuse and a gutter level of debate. You might be surprised, but it's true. But let's look at how some of them might have displayed one or other of those characteristics as they claim the high moral ground in public debate. Last week, a lot of people like Clementine Ford were lining up to attack Macquarie Radio talkback legend and my Sky News colleague, Alan Jones. This has to be the end of Jones, said Ford on a Channel 10 site. Jones, as you know, was slammed for his aggressive words directed at New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern.
She's a clown, Jacinda Ardern, a complete clown. I just wonder whether Scott Morrison's going to be fully briefed to shove a sock down the throat. I mean, she is a joke, this woman, an absolute and utter lightweight. This lightweight New Zealand Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, is challenging Scott Morrison over climate change. Now, I hope Scott Morrison gets tough here with a few backhanders. Hasn't got a clue, this woman.
Importantly, Jones apologised, both on air and in a letter to Ardern. He was publicly admonished by his station, and the New Zealand Prime Minister responded graciously.
I understand that he of course, used to, be closely linked to the Wallabies. So let's just say I think that revenge is best served through a Bledisloe Cup.
Fair enough. But this wasn't enough for some. Jacinda Ardern is just one of the many people Jones appears to viciously hate for having opinions that do not match his own, said Ford, who's not perhaps in the best position to throw stones like that. In March, she tweeted to Prime Minister Scott Morrison, "Shut the F up, Scott Morrison, you cheap synthetic dildo." Yep, that's the same Clementine Ford. In 2018, just last year, Ford told Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton that he was a C-word, and that will never change. Last week, Ford also said Jones' long, extraordinarily well-paid career has also included what I consider to be racist taunts and irresponsible reporting, nor has he ever been subjected to the overwhelming levels of hostility his Conservative peers and colleagues inflict on activists and public figures, particularly progressive-minded people of colour and women. Racist taunts against people of colour and women. Well, Clementine Ford called Daily Telegraph columnist Miranda Devine the C-word live on ABC television, and on Twitter she declared zero regrets and repeated the dose, saying that's because she is. She also said no matter how hard she tries, Sky News host Rita Panahi, who's of Iranian heritage, would never be a white man. Fancy 10 giving Ford a platform for her rank hypocrisy. Co-host of 10's The Project, Lisa Wilkinson, also took issue with Jones. Backhanders, she retweeted last week. Really not sure how you misinterpret that. It must be hard to plead ignorance about the use of such metaphors when Wilkinson's own husband, Nine Media columnist Peter Fitzsimons, who retweeted Lisa Wilkinson's tweet, he used the same term in the same way. Writing about Bernard Tomic 3 years ago, he said, "Your job in life, Bernard, is to play as strong a game as you can, peppered with the odd vicious backhander and crushing overhead smash, and as a matter of fact, that's my job too." You were saying, Peter? That was like a backhander on himself. Look, we could go on with the inconsistencies, and I'll share more for sure another time. But the main point here is this pile-on against Jones, which involves an element of virtue signalling by others in the media. The worry is that it just gives succor to the extreme activist groups who use something like the Jones comments to generate a backlash, especially on social media, and they target advertisers, targeting their customer bases and driving advertisers away from radio and television stations. It's commercial bullying where anonymous digital trolls can create an impression far outweighing their real numbers and frighten away the advertising dollars that sustain commercial media and mainstream opinions. It's far from a genuine public reaction because it's driven by false information and anonymous digital amplification. The publicity material of these groups is often defamatory itself, ascribing abhorrent views and attitudes to people on stations, including this one, and myself included, that are simply untrue. But because they don't have the courage to identify themselves, they are difficult to trace and challenge. Some hosts, though, are starting to fight back by exposing the tactics and asking audiences to send notes of appreciation to advertisers.
And as for Pester Power, there is even more of it that is coming our way. I've told you for the past few days about the incoming that inevitably will come to organisations like Sky News and programs specifically like mine. There is yet again a woke mob who have decided it's time to rev up. It's time to go after every single company who spends even $1 on this show or this channel. They've set up a website. I think they paid about $10 to GeoCities to set it up, but still, it lists all of the evil TV shows and all of the companies who support them. And therefore, you must campaign against them. You click a little button, it sends a highly defamatory letter about myself and my colleagues, and eventually they hope that the Pester Power that has convinced parts of the mining industry will convince them to pull their ads from this channel. As you can see, up on my Facebook page right now, Paul Murray Live, just go searching for it on Facebook. You can see a link of all of the companies who sponsor these 2 hours each and every night. They need to know that people watch this show and that you buy their products, that you support them for supporting us. Because you see, the way that the Pester Power game works, from the dibber-dobbers on the left, is that they try to pretend that 100% of people who have access to the internet hate what we do, but it's time to push back.
Yeah, I'd encourage you to show your support for anyone who advertises on any media, actually, because only commercial media is responsive to your views. The publicly funded stuff seems to have only disdain for the mainstream. But clearly this new world of guerrilla digital activism creates difficult new challenges in the commercial world.